Hey there, what's up, everybody? This is a different type of video, but then again, this is a different type of channel. I want to talk about something that you usually don't hear people talking a lot about in the football manager community, or really kind of in the gaming community in general. That is the big A word, which is addiction. So I want to tell you a little bit about my experience with football manager addiction and kind of what I've learned from it. Back in the pandemic, late 2020, the pandemic kind of coincided with my rediscovery of football manager, my decision to sort of get back into the game. It was probably somewhere in the middle of 2020 that I started playing FM20 again. I think I had purchased it earlier. I know that I also had a copy back then of FM19. I think that I'd purchased FM19 and didn't really ever play it. I purchased FM20, and sometime in that summer I started to fiddle around with it a little bit. Started to watch people on YouTube, which you already know about if you've seen my other videos. I talk a lot about like Lelujo, Omega Luke, guys like that. Still watch them all the time. Anyway, back in those days, I started to take the game a little bit more seriously, especially while the pandemic was building up. Here in the United States, we had a whole bunch of issues, as you may recall, with a bunch of concerns about certain social movements, and there were a lot of protests, and there were people who were really upset. There was a lot of talk about what's really happening with the pandemic and all this stuff. And I mean, frankly, my family and I, we just kind of wanted to hunker down and let the craziness in the world happen away from us, and let's see if we can get past everything. And that's a really good time to take all of your attention and kind of focus it on something else other than what you should be doing. And that is the mindset I was in when FM21 came out. And man, I played a lot of FM21. So I probably played about 930 hours or so of FM21 in the lifespan of the game, which doesn't seem like much, but you have to realize that I went through a few periods of several months actually of not playing it at all because I started to become concerned about the impact it was beginning to have on my life. I mean, it was really, really a problem. It was getting to the point where I was working from home basically full time. Like in addition to doing my work, I would have FM21 open at the same time, like all day, right? So I would start my work at like maybe something like 7. And FM21 would be open, and I would go the whole day, and then it would be like 9 or 10 at night, and the game would still be open, and I would still be pushing through. I'd be playing games during meetings, and started to have an impact on me and an impact on my life in the way that I was interacting with people, right? So I'd be in a meeting, and my boss would look at me and say, hey, is there something wrong? You get kind of a weird look in your face, and I don't know how to tell my boss, oh, yeah, the reason why is because I'm watching my team like blow a lead or whatever. I mean, right, this is not what you should be doing. When I look back on that, there's a lot of signs there that addiction is starting to take over, because instead of playing football manager for fun and trying to get into the save, trying to get into the story and so on, I was playing it like my life depended on it, almost like this was the most important thing in the world, and that being successful at this game would somehow make up for all the other problems in life, and it would make everything bad in the world go away, or I could just completely ignore it and kind of make it shoo away, and I could just live fully in this fantasy world. That's not a good sign at all, and that's kind of the way that addiction works. So I went through... I mean, there have been other problems in my life as well, right? I went through a period of time where I started thinking, this is the problem, the game is the problem, let me put this away. You put it away for a while, and then you're like, well, maybe not so bad. It's not so bad after all. And then you pull it back out again, and then you play it, and then you start playing more and more heavily, and then you try to put it away again, and so on and so forth. You have a little tug of war. I spent a lot of time at that time looking around on Reddit. I got into the Stop Gaming subreddit, which some of you might be familiar with, maybe not. I started to believe a lot of things that were written on there. I've kind of gone past that, and a lot of this is because I learned over time, as I learned more about addiction and how this works, that the way that your addiction comes out, the things that you do and that you get really hooked on for whatever reason, is not necessarily like the source of the addiction, right? Now, I'm not saying, hey guys, go out and do a whole bunch of drugs, or, go do like totally crazy stuff that you're going to get hooked on and you're going to have problems with. What I'm saying with this is that especially when it comes to something like Football Manager, or maybe another hobby you have. Maybe you like to, I don't know, read like science fiction or fantasy books, or maybe you like playing, I don't know, Magic the Gathering, right? I used to play that in middle school all the time. We called it cardboard crack, right, for obvious reasons. If you like doing something like this and you're finding that it's interfering with your life and that you're starting to use this as some sort of shield or mask to keep yourself away from the realities of the world and to keep yourself away from other people and stuff, it's not necessarily the case that the game is the problem. The problem's probably somewhere else, and there's probably something deeper. It would be a good idea to start digging down and looking for where the problem is, instead of just taking the game that you enjoy playing and kind of getting rid of it and saying that must be something bad. I don't want to touch that anymore, right? My point in saying this is that if you find yourself going down this path and you find yourself having this sort of problem, it really is something you need to address. And usually it's best to address that with a licensed professional who can help you, a counselor or somebody of that nature, which is something that I have done. Now, what I'll tell you that I've learned in the end about Football Manager, and I know I've said this before, it's kind of a broken record, is that you can really enjoy the game and you can play it, and you can play it in moderation, as crazy as it sounds. You don't have to go through an entire save, in record time. You don't have to play through a season as quickly as you possibly can. There's no time pressure, right? Nobody's looking at you saying, "Oh man, it took you a week and a half to play a whole season. Like, what's wrong with you?" or anything like that, right? You can go slowly. And in fact, as I've learned, if you've been watching my NBNFC save, as I've learned as I've gone along, I tend to care a lot more about the players and about the story and about what's happening when I go slow, when I take it one game at a time. I find myself thinking about my save and the game and stuff I don't know, in the afternoon, if I go pick up my kids from school or whatever, at night if we're having dinner or something like that, I might think, yeah, I wonder what's happening with this, or I wonder what's happening with that. Blogging about it, creating YouTube videos about it, and so on helps a lot as well, because there's more connection with other people, and you can take a lot of that creative energy that gets built up inside, and you can sort of release that, and you can share it with somebody else, and you can kind of play around with stuff and have a little bit of fun with it. It's something that's positive that you're creating, not just something that's internal, and it kind of goes away from being, this whole, hey, it's me against the world, when we're talking about Football Manager. I have to win this to prove that whatever you have to prove. You don't want it to be like that. Instead, it's sort of like, hey, let's go along with the story. Let's have fun with this. Let's see what happens, right? It's me in the earlier save with Ingolstadt earlier on in FM23, unable to win any games, can't quite get the morale turned around. Everything is falling apart. The tactic is awful. The board absolutely hates me and stuff. But I mean, normally if I'm playing that by myself, maybe then I do feel grumpy. Maybe I'm sitting in a meeting and I'm trying to play this and I'm like, I hate the world and all this is awful. But if I make videos about it and kind of share it and stuff, it's actually kind of fun, honestly, even if you lose, even if it's horrible, even if you're like, man, I'm really awful at this game, I'll never get better or whatever. It's more fun to do so if you're doing so with other people, right? It's a much better experience and it's a lot more fun, and it can help prevent you from getting so deep into the game that you feel like you have something to prove, or that somehow this video game is going to fix the things that are wrong in your life. Anyway, I wanted to share this, and I know I keep coming back to this subject over and over again. I probably will do so again in the future. One reason why I want to talk about addiction in Football Manager, and about things like the game being a Skinner box, and about different ways that you can get around some of the arbitrary and really not so immersive nature of the game, is because it really is a problem. And frankly, there are not a whole lot of people who talk about it. I'll be really, really direct about this. All right. So apologies if I offend anybody, but I see and I watch a lot of creators on YouTube. And there are a lot of people I really, really respect out there who are real inspirations to me, who I worry about, because I can tell that you're playing this game all the time, and you're getting through the whole season in a week's worth of videos or less, right? I worry about that, right? Be careful, right? I mean, make sure that you are doing something else. Make sure you're spending time with the family. Make sure that you're going out. Make sure that you're getting exercise, right? We want to see people who are healthy and happy and are in a good mood, not just people who sit around in the room playing Football Manager for like 17 hours straight, because I would go absolutely crazy if I tried to do something like that. I can't imagine anybody doing that sort of thing. Take it slow. It's all right. One thing I've learned as a budding, up-and-coming, whatever, young content creator who doesn't really know what he's doing is that when I go slowly, people still watch the video. And believe it or not, most people seem to be interested in the story behind it, or in whatever crazy video I have about this random tactic, or here's how you can loan players out and make millions of dollars off of it, or whatever. People seem to be interested in that sort of thing, and not necessarily so interested in how many seasons can I get through in 3 months, right? And that's the point, right? You want to make sure that, I mean, even if you're taking this content creation, you're making a profession out of it, that you don't let it start to play you. Instead, you need to maintain that control. You need to maintain proper boundaries. And keep in mind, really, that a lot of people are probably watching you for your personality more so than for your skill in playing the game. Anyway, there you go. That's my take on this, on addiction and Football Manager. If you do really feel like you have a problem, or if it really starts interfering with your life, I'm talking about like you're going to get a divorce because of it, or like you lost your job because you spent all your time playing this game or whatever, you definitely need to seek professional help. I mean, absolutely. That is not good. That is not normal. That is not the way that you should be handling this. Having said that, going like completely the opposite way and saying, I will never touch this game again, and then feeling upset about it, and like sneaking a peek at a video here or there, and then thinking about it and longing for it, and then going back to it and stuff, is also an unhealthy relationship with the game, right? Get control. Make sure that you're in control of what's going on. If you got problems like that in your life, go get them taken care of, but like really focus on them, right? Stop putting up a screen between yourself and your problems. Focus on your problems. Once you got the problem sorted out, you got that figured out, then guess what? Then you can play some FM on the side. You can spend a little bit of time with it. FM is done. Fine. We're going to go to work, or I'm going to go hang out with my teenage kids, and I don't know, listen to them talk about memes or whatever kids do these days, right? That's a lot more fun. Then you're happier. I feel happier. And then you make better videos, and then people want to watch it because they're like, I like this person and his personality, right? This is what I want to see. Anyway, there you go. There's my thoughts. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, especially down in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Again, I'm not a professional. I'm not like a master of addiction or whatever. I'm not a medical person or anything like this. Seek those opinions from somebody who's licensed. But I do feel that I have at least some ability to talk about this because of my recent experiences. Talk to you later. See you tomorrow. Bye.